Hello everyone. Since it is getting to the holiday season, and by holiday season I mean of course just Christmas, because it seems like that's all everyone talks about, I thought I would make a video in honor of Hanukkah coming up starting this Sunday, December 2nd, to rec my favorite Jewish-inspired books. The first book on my list is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is a fantastic book. It is a loose retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, which apparently is anti-Semitic. I didn't know that before I started reading about this book. But Novik turns the story into a Jewish positive space, while also telling a fantastic fairy tale with three main women characters who are utterly fantastic. They have different storylines, different backgrounds, but they are all empowered in their own ways, and it is just a phenomenal book. Highly, highly recommend. Next on my list is The Red Tent by Anita Diamant. It is a biblical story following Dinah from the Book of Genesis. It is a feminist retelling of her story and that of her mother's, the four wives of Jacob. The only familiarity I had with this era of the Bible was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Even though it's not a Christmas story, for some reason my family and I, when I was growing up, always went to see a stage performance of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was always put on in December where we lived. So I always associated it with Christmas. But what I didn't know until I read this book and read more about this book is that Joseph had a sister. In the play and in the movie version with Donny Osmond, Joseph only has brothers, but apparently in the Bible he has a sister who is completely ignored in all versions of the musical that I'm aware of, which is especially infuriating because it's a crime that the brothers do to Dinah by murdering her husband that causes them to be cursed. So it was a little heart-wrenching to know that a story I grew up loving and seeing every year completely cut out both the sister and the multiple wives of Jacob, but it was nice to have them focused on in this book, and the book was great. Next is a book that I wish I had read when I was younger. I didn't read it until the last year or two, but I absolutely loved it. It's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. This is a children's / young adult book about a girl who comes from a half-Jewish, half-Christian family. So I saw myself represented in her and the issues that she deals with, not just on the religious side and the family side, but just the normal growing up as a 12-year-old. I really enjoyed it, and I connected with it so much. Next is People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. This book follows the story of the famed Sarajevo Haggadah throughout time. Half of it takes place in the present, following Hannah, who is a rare book expert. The other half of the book takes place at different time periods, following the journey of the book over the centuries. I actually like the past time frames a lot better than I like the present time frame with Hannah, but the way that Brooks weaves all those stories together was done really well. Next is an autobiographical graphic novel, 2 Cents Plain, My Brooklyn Boyhood by Martin Lemelman. This was a book that my grandmother wanted to read years ago, and I finally got around to reading it as well. My grandmother was born in Brooklyn, and the author was also born and grew up in Brooklyn in the 50s and 60s. I can't say that this book was perfect. There's a lot of content that is uncomfortable, and toward the end it gets pretty racist toward the non-Jewish minorities who are moving into Lemelman's neighborhood. But what I did really enjoy about this book was how recognizable so many of the things that my grandmother told me about her childhood were presented on the page. So like with Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, I really saw myself and my family on a lot of the pages here, and I connected to those particular aspects. Next is also a graphic novel, fiction this time, The Rabbi's Cat by Joan Safar. I read this very recently. It is translated from the original French, and it was a very strange graphic novel that takes place in Algeria in the 1930s. It has a talking cat. Sometimes it jumps from scene to scene, and it's not really clear what's going on, but the dynamic of learning about about Judaism through this talking cat, through the skepticism that it brings, was done really well. So if you're looking for a lighter introduction into Judaism, at least in Algeria in the 1930s, this is a great place to start. Another fun book that's geared more for children's audience but can be read by anyone is The Golden Dreidel by Ellen Kushner. It is a short Hanukkah-inspired fairy tale. The main character journeys to a magical world to save a princess. It's really cute and it is heavily Jewish. Next on my recommendations list is The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker. This takes place in early 1900s New York City, and the two main characters are not human. One is a golem and one is a jinni. The book follows their journey among humans, learning about humanity, learning about themselves, and combines the Jewish folklore and magic of the Kabbalah that the golem comes from with the folklore and history from Syria where the jinni comes from. It's so good. I really want to reread it again because the author is coming out with a sequel at some point in the near future. This book had such a good atmosphere to it, and the setting of early 1900s New York with those characters was something I was able to dive into immediately. And last but not least on my list is not a specific book, but just literally anything by Shira Glassman. I have read a couple of her novels and a couple of her short stories. Her novels in the Mangoverse series are light, fluffy, Jewish queer fantasy that are just so fun, and her short stories cover different types of relationships in different time periods. Some are ghost stories, some are contemporary stories, some are short, fluffy Hanukkah stories. They're great, and I can't recommend her enough. Anyway, those are my Jewish recs for today. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in any of them, or if you've read any Jewish inspired books that I didn't put on this list. Thanks for joining me.